Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show, folks. Today, we're diving into the latest from the White House where President Trump is shaking things up, targeting law firms, universities like Harvard, and advocacy groups by scrutinizing their tax-exempt status. This move could have huge financial and political impacts, aiming to challenge organizations that oppose his policies. It's a bold strategy to weaken their influence and independence. In other news, the U.S. is turning deportations into a massive business, almost like Amazon. With nearly 7,000 migrants waiting in Louisiana, plans are underway to more than double detention beds to 100,000, with private companies like Geo Group and CoreCivic making big profits. Critics say this leads to inhumane conditions and unfair legal treatment, especially since many detainees are held far from legal aid and family support. It's a controversial push for mass deportation, folks. And finally, as WorldPride 2025 approaches in Washington, D.C., LGBTQ+ leaders are warning about travel risks for transgender and nonbinary folks due to recent U.S. policies and travel restrictions. While organizers emphasize the importance of visibility and protest, they also urge travelers to stay safe, stay informed, and trust their instincts. It's a powerful moment of resilience, even amid challenges. Please continue to watch for more details. The New York Times vividly depicts President Donald Trump's relentless campaign to undermine the pillars of U.S. civil society, targeting not only the nation's most prestigious law firms and universities but also advocacy groups that serve as the backbone of democratic activism. Trump has publicly announced plans to scrutinize the tax-exempt status of Harvard University and environmental organizations like Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, CREW, signaling an aggressive effort to weaken organizations that challenge his policies. This assault extends to the legal and educational sectors, with threats to revoke Harvard's tax benefits and restrict international student enrollment, all while freezing billions in federal funding. Such measures threaten to destabilize these institutions' independence and their ability to foster research, activism, and global collaboration, casting a shadow over the integrity of American higher education and civil liberties. The Washington Post reports a chilling expansion of the United States immigration detention system under Trump's administration, which aims to treat deportations as a highly efficient, profit-driven enterprise. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons has openly expressed intentions to run the deportation process like Amazon, with plans to nearly double the current capacity from 46,000 to 100,000 beds, contracting private prison companies to maximize profits. Louisiana, with its numerous rural detention centers, has become a focal point for this expansion, despite widespread concerns over inhumane conditions and the geographic isolation of detainees from legal and familial support. Critics argue that this militarized approach to immigration enforcement not only exacerbates human rights abuses but also transforms the deportation process into a lucrative industry, prioritizing efficiency over justice. The Associated Press details a disturbing trend in the Trump administration's efforts to tighten control over federal agencies and enforce its political agenda. The administration has announced a new rule, Schedule F, which will facilitate the rapid removal of federal workers perceived as opposing Trump's policies, effectively politicizing the civil service. Meanwhile, the administration continues to escalate its crackdown on immigration, with plans to expand detention capacity and implement harsher enforcement tactics, including the use of remote detention centers in rural Louisiana. These actions reflect a broader strategy to consolidate executive power, weaken institutional independence, and prioritize border security and deportations over human rights and due process, raising profound concerns about the erosion of American democratic norms. The Independent vividly illustrates the complex political landscape facing UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer as he navigates between two conflicting priorities: forging a trade deal with the United States under Donald Trump's influence and pursuing a Brexit reset aimed at closer ties with the European Union. The looming deadlines, May 19 for the EU summit and July 8 for the US tariffs, highlight the delicate balancing act, with the threat of chlorinated chicken and hormone-laden beef symbolizing the contentious trade-offs. Experts warn that pursuing a lucrative U.S. trade agreement, especially one that relaxes food safety standards and deregulates the tech sector, could deepen divergence from the EU, complicating future negotiations and risking the integrity of Northern Ireland's position. Meanwhile, Starmer's insistence that no choice is necessary is challenged by the reality that political and economic pressures may soon force him into a difficult decision that could shape Britain's international relations for generations. Yahoo US's coverage of WorldPride 2025 underscores the heightened risks faced by transgender and non-binary individuals amid the Trump administration's rollback of LGBTQ+ rights, including restrictions on passports and visa applications that require disclosure of biological sex at birth. Organizers' cautious travel advisories reflect the broader climate of hostility and legal uncertainty, emphasizing the importance of preparation and community resilience. Despite these challenges, Pride remains a vital act of protest, visibility, and survival, with advocates stressing that the fight for acceptance and safety is more urgent than ever. The event's significance is amplified by its historical context, the 50th anniversary of DC's Pride celebrations, serving as a powerful reminder that the community's spirit of resistance and joy persists in the face of political adversity. Stateline's detailed report on cybersecurity reveals how President Trump's recent executive order shifting responsibilities to states and localities, coupled with federal funding cuts, has left many jurisdictions ill-prepared for escalating cyber threats. From ransomware attacks on Medicaid and SNAP systems in Rhode Island to breaches in school districts and law enforcement agencies, the growing sophistication of cybercriminals, including foreign actors and domestic hackers, underscores the urgent need for robust defenses. However, the decline in federal support, marked by the expiration of crucial grant programs and staff reductions at agencies like CISA, exacerbates the vulnerabilities of local governments, which often lack the expertise and resources to implement comprehensive security measures. As states respond by enacting legislation to bolster infrastructure and centralize cybersecurity efforts, the overarching challenge remains: without sustained federal investment and strategic coordination, the nation's digital defenses risk being severely compromised in an era of increasing cyber warfare. The Independent vividly recounts the story of an Indian man who faced an astonishingly swift rejection of his U.S. visa application, less than a minute after just 3 questions at the New Delhi embassy. Despite answering honestly about his desire for a Florida holiday, his lack of international travel history, and his relationship with a girlfriend in Florida, the visa was denied without detailed explanation. This incident underscores the increasingly stringent U.S. visa policies under Donald Trump's administration, which has cracked down not only on illegal immigrants but also on legal visitors and tourists, with reports of other cases such as a French scientist being refused entry after criticizing the Trump administration. The story highlights the growing difficulty for ordinary travelers to navigate the U.S. immigration system amid heightened security measures and political shifts. The Independent also exposes the devastating impact of Trump's dismantling of USAID on global health initiatives, particularly the fight against HIV/AIDS. Campaigners like Peter Tatchell condemn the cuts as a death sentence for millions, warning that the removal of funding could reverse years of progress, leading to increased infections, deaths, and orphaned children. The article details how the U.S.'s retreat from international aid has led to the closure of clinics, shortages of vital medications, and a rise in HIV-related mortality in developing countries. Experts emphasize that these cuts threaten to undo decades of work in controlling the pandemic, with vulnerable populations, especially women in Africa, bearing the brunt of this reckless policy shift, which is also triggering legal challenges and widespread condemnation globally. RFI's analysis on the EU's dependence on Chinese automotive supply chains vividly illustrates how recent U.S. tariffs and trade tensions have exposed Europe's vulnerabilities. With Chinese car manufacturers dominating electric vehicle production and supplying a significant share of batteries and components, European automakers like Stellantis and Renault face rising costs, shipment delays, and strategic dilemmas. The tariffs, intended to protect U.S. industries, have inadvertently accelerated China's global expansion, prompting Chinese firms to establish factories across Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and Europe itself to circumvent trade barriers. The article warns that Europe's reliance on Chinese technology and supply chains poses a critical challenge to its electrification ambitions, urging policymakers to consider strategic partnerships and technology transfer agreements reminiscent of China's own industrial policies, to ensure future competitiveness amid geopolitical turbulence. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.